Haya, wengi utaniambia kama naweza ongea.
Unaweza ongea sasa.
Okay. Good evening. Happy Thursday, everyone. Let's see. Eight p.m. 8 p.m. Thursday, the 1st of February. Happy New Month as well. Oh, this is cool. We've never had a live on the 1st of any month. Um, and this being a leap year, it's a rather long month. 29 days this February. So happy leap year, new month to you all. My name is Solomon Wangwe, founder, managing director of Goshen Acquisitions Limited and its wholly owned subsidiary, Grand Acres. Good to see you all. All of you tuned into Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter as well. I think we're live on Twitter, right? LinkedIn. Okay. Not Twitter, LinkedIn. What a privilege to be here today with you all to have our usual weekly conversations. I hope you can hear me and see me good. If you can't, please say something in the comments, and Gladys, who's behind the cameras, will try and sort it out. But I think we should be good to go. So without further ado, I'll invite you, as always, if you know someone, friend, family, uh, a loved one, a workmate, someone you like, love, and respect, good vibes only, share this link with them before we start our conversation so that they can have the benefit of whatever we're going to learn from each other today. It's our usual Thursday live. We're starting at 8 p.m. today, which is about an hour later than usual. This week is the second week we're doing it because we have noticed for some reason we have most of you available to participate from 8 p.m. And so we'll see how well this goes. And if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, that's fine. We'll adjust as it works best for you all. So share this link with everyone that you can. I'll give it about 30 seconds or so, 45 seconds, and then we can get started with the Q&A, weekly Q&A. You get to ask me questions about anything around property investments here in Kenya. If you have no questions, you might have an observation to make, a comment, a criticism, or a commentary on something that's happening in current affairs around real estate. Maybe you know someone who's going through a situation, good or bad. You're also welcome to share those. It's a live, open conversation about land investments, property investments here in Kenya. As I've said before or shared before, we've been doing this for since January of 2012 as a registered entity, but I actually started about 6 months or so before in 2011. So this year marks 13 years or thereabouts practicing real estate land investment here in Kenya. But before that, I did some real estate investment as a fixer-upper, flipping houses in the United States of America, where I was living for a while, having gone there to study, left school, did odd jobs here and there, typical experience like with very many of us Africans or even Kenyans living abroad, and stumbled my way into real estate investment um, and have been doing it since. I'd say maybe 2004, 2005 is when I got into it. So quite a bit of experience. I'm not a newbie at this. So the objective is to share our learnings, uh, doing it successfully here in Kenya, at least to some extent. So hopefully we can share something valuable with you. And we're open to learning something new from any of you out there who have experiences of your own and hopefully we can spur each other on to safe investing as a habit, as a way of life, as a lifestyle, to secure our own futures as well as our children's and our children's children. That's the whole point. So, with those many and few words, let's get started. I see Washu. Hey, Washu, we see you. I know you were waiting earlier because you're used to the 7 p.m. start time. I'm sorry we didn't tell you, but thank you for making time to join us from Los Angeles. Ahadi Group, I see you guys as always. I'm going to get into your comments, but I'm so grateful that you guys, along with Washu, Sir Prestige, and a few other loyal and faithful participants, you guys are the reason we do this. So thank you. I don't take it for granted that you would take time out of your precious day to spend with us. So let's get started. Shall I start with the Ahadi Group?
Yeah.
Gladys? Okay. So Ahadi Group on Instagram says, "Hi Solo, just a comment. It amazes me whenever I share all the knowledge with my friends here. I realize that so many people still have a lot to learn about land buy. I keep referring them to your website." Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ahadi Group. We love you guys for that. Thank you so much. Send everyone that you can, right? And this is our purpose. This is our mission to empower as many of us as possible so that we can invest safely. Whether or not you're buying from Grand Acres or Goshen Acquisitions, if we can help you in some way to go about your own investment journey the right way and secure it with your with your soul intact and with all the documents in place and get good value in terms of the actual product, mission accomplished. So thank you so much. I see, hey Rodney, I think that's TikTok say, si ulikuwa kwa show ya mkurugenzi? Ndio Rodney, tulikuwa kwa show ya mkuru, sisi ni wakuru. Pia, asante sana kwa kujoin. And kama kuna wengine unaweza watumia hii link ndio watu join, tafadhali watumie haraka upesi ndio tuweze kuongezeana value. Asante. Awesome. I love seeing Mkurus on our comment. I saw a taxi the other day outside our office building. I was driving to work. I was driving behind this. It looked like a cab. And in the back, this guy had a huge sign on the back screen, the windscreen. Like as in big, bold. I think it looked like a vinyl sticker, and it said Mkurugenzi 03. Mkuru, you guys are loved. You have loyal Wakurugenzi with you, and we love that we are part of that community as well. Okay, Gladys tells me no questions yet. So I'm here. Send them in. Or if you have a comment, something you observed, commentary, criticism, most welcome. Isn't it gorgeous on TikTok says, are you guys hiring? The answer is yes, actually, depending on what you're looking for. We're actually looking to bring some of our legal work in-house. So if you're a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya with at least 4 years experience after passing the bar in conveyancing, specifically in commercial transactions, send us your CV. We're looking to hire awesome people and add them to the Grand Acres team. We're also looking for the best salespeople out there, people who are ethical practitioners of sales, okay, motivated, hungry to make money, hungry to serve customers, hungry to see our beautiful country through our various sites and join this amazing team we have here at Grand Acres. You're also welcome to send your CVs, and you can send to sales@grandacres.co.ke. Is there another email that we want people? Inquiry. Enquiry, ENQUIRY, enquiry at GoshenAcquisitions.com. Send in your CVs. Let's have a chat and see if we deserve one another. Okay? Thank you for that question. Washu says, let's talk about land acquisition with an intention to put up, say, apartment complex or any type of construction. Please take us through the process. Land of many stalled investments because of lack of CGE permits, money, and whatnot. Take us through the process so investors know what to expect. That's a great and very heavy question, Washu. Now, disclaimer, as much as I may know a thing or two about what the process should be from a general sense, we have never built or constructed apartments as Grand Acres or Goshen Acquisition. So I'd be very reticent to give any advice, okay, from that respect, because we like to practice what we preach. But if I was in your shoes and you're looking to invest in property, there's a few things I would look out for. Number one, does the company that's constructing have a track record of successful construction projects in the past? And if so, how many? And depending on the number and the location, have you seen them? I do this myself when I'm trying to hire contractors. I ask them to take me to sites that they've actually built. There's no substitute for looking at completed work, right? Because that tells you what you can expect from them. So that's what I would do. I'm not sure how that's going to work out for you all when we start selling apartments for the first time, because the answer to that question when you ask us will be no, we've never built anything. But there are certain things we can put in place to provide you guarantees that we're going to deliver as promised and do a good job. And that has to do with the team of experts that we put together, from the architect to the contractor to the quantity surveyors team to the project management team, all the way down to our environmentalists and that sort of thing. For those of us who will be doing it for the first time, we would rely on the experience of other experts involved in that process. So you want to do the same. Ask them these questions. Who's in your team? Have you done this before? And if you're buying off plan, because that's a very popular way for people to invest in apartments here in Kenya, off plan. And why would people do off plan purchases? You get a good deal. You very often get it at the lowest price possible before they start increasing prices based on milestones of completion. Let's say foundation is being poured. Even before that, I've seen people do sales, off-plan sales, even before groundbreaking, depending on how trustworthy they are as a brand and past track record, or the community of people that they already have built trust with. I've seen people start that at foundation pouring when the superstructure is completed, meaning the bones, the skeletal structure of the building is completed, before they start doing the guts of the building, which is plumbing, electrical, that sort of thing, and then finally with finishing. So depending on how those stages progress, prices typically go up. And this is why a lot of people are very motivated to buy off plan, because very often you can get a good deal. While that is a good way to go about it, it comes with its own inherent risks. So you have to do your homework about the contractor. And before you part with any money, make sure you have an airtight agreement for sale or sale agreement prepared by licensed advocates of the High Court of Kenya. Make sure they are licensed. Ask them for their license certificate. Okay, don't just take it by word. And make sure you have the clauses in there that you're comfortable with about when subsequent releases of funds would come. Are you comfortable releasing funds when they finish the foundation and then do the superstructure? Or do you want to wait until completion? And if that's your preference, is the contractor or the builder willing to accommodate that? So you have to meet in terms of an agreement on how to proceed, um, because that's the only way to make sure you get in early. Now, if you're like me, I'd much rather just buy a finished unit that I can walk through, preferably take a piece in the bathroom, the completed bathroom, and flush the toilet and make sure it's flushing nicely and nothing is leaking and that sort of thing, right? Ideally, I also want to visit the place in the rainy season, especially if it's at the rooftop or if it's a single family resident, you don't have a slab on top. Make sure there's no leakage. Okay, so uh, if you don't want to wait for that, because usually you're going to pay a premium for a finished product versus buying it off plan, then you need to know what your comfort is, and therefore what clauses need to go in a sale agreement for you to part with cash now versus later. That's in general what I would look out for. Um, Permits, I mean, what can I say? It's Kenya. Permits take forever to obtain, especially for those of us who like to do clean business and not pay for bribes or facilitation fees to the authorities who are supposed to issue these approvals. It's just a reality, sad reality that we have to come to terms with. So, to the extent that the builder does not engage in that sort of unethical practice, delays are to be expected. I can tell you this from experience, even as far as fragmenting land, which is our primary activity as land sellers or land developers. We've had delays for up to 2.5 years on projects because we refuse to pay a bribe to some government official, whether county or national government. So permit delays are normal. Okay, and even in cases where people are willing to soil their hands or dirty their hands or sell their souls by paying a facilitation fee, delays do happen. Ask anyone who's dealing with Nairobi County permits. So that's to be expected. How do you address that? Have clauses in your sale agreement that cover you. Okay, and your licensed advocate, one who's experienced, will be able to point out any blind spots as far as that might be concerned. On the money issue, that can go all sorts of different ways, right? A lot of people do off plan sales in terms of contractors or developers, specifically because they want to borrow less from lending institutions because of the high interest rates that also put pressure on them to make monthly payments while they're constructing before they can sell at the optimal rates. Okay, so they would do off-plan sales to receive money from customers, which will be put towards the construction of the project. A lot of land sellers do the same thing, even if they don't tell you so. Um, it's important that you understand how they are financing the project. So ask, how are you going to guarantee completion of this project? Can you prove uh, bank guarantees for your construction? Do you have money in the account already? Or are you relying on my deposit funds to build your building? And if you are relying on my money that I'm paying you in deposits, how am I going to be covered should you not be able to complete? Will you be able to refund me? Those are questions and conversations you should have before you sign on the dotted line and part with your money, right? So have open conversations. If a contractor, a builder, a developer, a seller is not willing to have that conversation with you, then you have to make a judgment call about whether you're willing to take the risk or walk away and find one who can accommodate you by addressing your concerns. It's that simple. Um, Beyond that, Washu, I can't speak too much about the details. I will when we start building vertically, um, in terms of apartments specifically, because that's a very specific process, very different from what we do now. Even if we do build single-family residences, that's very different from going up vertically, because that falls under the Sectional Properties Act, even your title documentation will be quite different from the normal process when you're dealing with land or single family residences on their own plots of land. So stay tuned. You will hear when we do start. It's something we've been looking forward to doing for a very long time. But as with all things, everything in due season. So I look forward to sharing that update with you all. Thanks, Washu, for that question. KLA would advise someone who sells property to actually go to school and get certificate, and how much might cost for real estate certificates. I guess KLA meant to type, would you advise someone who sells property to actually go to school and get a certificate? And how much might it cost for the real estate certificate? Thank you for that question, KLA, on YouTube. Absolutely. To the extent that where you're intending to practice your real estate activity requires licensing, not only is it a good idea, it's an obligation for you to get licensed. Obtain a certificate, either take a course, a professional licensing course. If it's something you identified pretty early as an area of strong interest, I would even study it in college. There's tertiary institutions, educational institutions all over the world that offer this as a course. Maybe not as a major, besides maybe land economics, but there's also some courses, including executive courses, that one can take on even after graduating college. So absolutely, the more informed you are, the better. So yes, I would strongly someone who's looking to sell property to get licensed and obtain whatever certificate is necessary or beneficial for number one, proving competence and generating or securing the amount of trust necessary to get the maximum amount of business as possible, particularly from developers who are building in volume. You want that contract to sell, 200 units, right? Your commissions on that would not be anything to laugh about. So absolutely, get whatever certification you might need. How much will it cost? Again, it depends. In Kenya, right now, real estate agents are required to register with a body that's been set up by the Ministry of Lands. Okay, I forget the specific name, but a simple Google search will tell you what a real estate agents licensing board, something of that nature. There are fees involved. You get registered as a real estate agent, and the specific definition is anyone who is involved in the brokering of a transaction between a buyer and a seller. That is what an agent is defined in that respect. So to whatever extent you're going to be marketing to sell a property owned by a different person to a third party, then you're required to register yourself with the Ministry of Lands agency. I'm not sure what the fees are. I'm sure they have those listed. Do your homework, engage. If there's any certification required as far as an exam is concerned, like the Insurance Regulatory Authority, the IRA, and any other similar body like the one for accountants, ISPAC, or the Law Society of Kenya that requires advocates to pass a bar exam before they get licensed. To whatever extent that might be required for your jurisdiction, absolutely do it quickly, no shortcuts. So I hope that answers you appropriately, KLA. Thank you for your question. LC_Tashi on Instagram says, hi, I am young and I want to buy land. What are the steps that you'd recommend I follow? That's an awesome question, LC. It's good that you're thinking about starting while you're young. Best answer I can give you, LC, is please go to our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. I'll repeat that again. That's www.grandacres.co.ke. www.grandacres.co.ke. Go to the tab that says checklist, click on it, enter the few details it will request of you, especially your email address, and our website will automatically send you the Grand Acres checklist, 9 steps to safe land buying in Kenya. Okay? If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook and LinkedIn, you should be able to see that on my right here. It's that green colored page. It's part of our checklist. It's an overview of the checklist. Each one of those steps, 1 to 9, has further descriptions in the checklist that will be very important for you to read through. Elsie, Tashi, if I were you, I would get as familiar with that document as possible. And I promise you, you will be well on your way to being a very successful land or property investor in Kenya. And these steps are specific to the Kenyan jurisdiction because it's a legal process. It's not something you just do because you feel like or do by handshakes. It's a very legal process, 99% legal. Okay, government of Kenya is the largest stakeholder in this industry, from contracting to planning approvals to subdivision approvals to transferring. You're dealing with government agencies all throughout the process. So get familiar with that checklist and you'll be well on your way. If you're concerned about access to capital, I would need more details from you about your specific situation. Do you have the money? If you don't have the money, how do you intend to put the money together? Can you pool funds with other like-minded young people who want to get started early? That's a great way to go. Can your parents, for instance, give you the seed capital? Or are you earning enough already that you can sort of put something aside? Are you a member of a SACCO that's saving regularly? And can you leverage that savings quantum by whatever multiple that the SACCO has to offer? I know a lot of SACCOs will give you up to 3 times the amount that you're able to save. I think for up to 6 months, you need to have saved or have an account active for 6 months. I've heard of some who will do it in 3 months, but most, in my experience, will do that in 6 months. I would need more details, Elsie, is what I'm saying. But the checklist, great way to start. And I wish you grand acres, as we say here at Goshen Acquisitions, in your land buying journey. Okay? And if you need help along the way, feel free to keep reaching out. Kanyo on TikTok says, is a beacon certificate enough to buy land, i.e., can it be used in place of a title deed? That's an awesome question, Kanyo. There is no substitute for a title deed, okay? None whatsoever. There are documents more important than your title deed, but there is no substitute. I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying, okay? The green card is the most important document, followed maybe by a registry index map, and a title deed is a close third, okay? But there is no substitute for the title deed, and certainly not a beacon certificate. A beacon certificate is issued by the licensed surveyor or registered surveyor who is responsible for having put the beacons in the ground. And basically what it says is, I am surveyor such and such, license number, this, that, or the other. I have placed the beacons for this property, LR, blah, blah, blah. And these are the GPS coordinates for each beacon I have placed in the ground for this property, signed whoever. And that basically means that you have a document that allows you to hold the licensed surveyor responsible for the work that they have done. Should the boundaries have been marked incorrectly, then you can say, hey, you're the one who put the beacons in the ground. I paid you for this professional service. You encroached on my neighbor's land. Can you come and fix it? So if they refuse, or if there's monkey business, you can hold them to account with their licensing body. That's what a beacon certificate is meant for. It's never meant, or it's not meant as a substitute for a title deed. It's an important document. It's good to have it, but it's not a substitute for a title deed. Never will be. So uh, I hope that helps, Kanyo. I think you're the first person to ever ask that question, so thank you. Moses QQU. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Gladys, do you know? Come on, I know you know. Try. Get, give it a try. Moses QQU. Thank you for your question. I think you're tuning in from Facebook. Or is it YouTube? Okay, Facebook. Moses says, so happy to be here. Really grateful that you're taking the time to share your knowledge with us. My mom and my aunts were consolidating a title or a series of titles that was left to them by their dad, which is Moses' grandpa. Sadly, because of my mom's health, she has not been able to easily travel to verify that the title deed she got coincides with the map that's on the ground. The discrepancy comes because the size indicated on the deed seems to be smaller than the land that my mom remembers. The lawyer who has the lawyer who handled it has also been rather shifty, very, very hard to pin. Now, in your opinion, what would be the starting point in verifying that this deed is legit and went through the right processes? Thank you for that question, Moses. That's a really serious situation you just described, um, and it doesn't help that the lawyer who handled this process is acting shifty. That is never a good thing. Hopefully, it's just poor communication from their part rather than being shifty about something that they did wrong. In my opinion, your starting point is to replace your advocate. It sounds to me that you've already lost trust in that advocate. So, first order of business is to replace them. If you cannot trust your advocate with your life, replace them quickly, bounce them. They work for you, not the other way around. They are bound by a certain code of professional ethics and standards as espoused by the Law Society of Kenya, to which they belong. That's a body that licenses them to practice legally in the Republic of Kenya. That includes earning and keeping and maintaining your trust, acting in good faith. It's a moral imperative. So, to the extent that you've lost trust in them, you should replace them immediately. Don't waste time. Get a different one who specifically has competence and experience in conveyancing law and commercial transactions. That would be step number one. Step number two, with the new advocate's help, and remember, I've recommended this. If you don't have our checklist, Moses, please do what I recommended to Elsie. Download it for free. It's on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Checklist tab. Use that. I believe it's step number 6, hiring a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya. How to make sure that they are licensed, what documents to ask them for, so on and so forth. Of course, make sure that you like them. Rapport, good personal interaction and rapport is important to trust building. So make sure you like them, ensure that they like you, and above all, make sure that they understand your pain in as much detail as possible. I'm one of those people who strongly believes that you should cultivate personal relationships with professionals such as these, just like you should with your doctor to some degree. They need to know you in and out, your values, your background, your struggles, your triumphs, everything. There is no other way to get a lawyer in your corner than to get personal with them. They need to feel your pain as if they were the ones going through it. And you're not going to be able to achieve that if you don't get personal. Okay? Which is why it's important that you like them and that they like you back. It's very simple. Okay? So, with this new advocate's help, after ensuring that they're licensed. Even if you like them, they need to be licensed. You can like them all you want, and if they're not licensed, doesn't work. Like them, make sure that they're licensed. Ask them to help you engage formally a licensed surveyor. Now, that licensed surveyor will be able to get on the ground and confirm the boundaries, dimension, shape of the properties, even right back to the historical ones before you amalgamated or, to use your word, consolidated. The official term or the formal term used in Kenya is combination or amalgamation. Okay, so they'll need to go back historically and look at the older documents, the mutation forms, how they were created in the first place, whether the amalgamation was done right, the new subdivision, and then also confirm the sizes as per the new land registry numbers for each specific parcel and its title deed. Okay, once that has been confirmed and that there is indeed a discrepancy, both professionals will be able to guide you forward on the best way to remedy or rectify the discrepancy. I hope that helps, Moses. And if you want to share other details, maybe feel free to do so. If you want to do so privately, DM us, tell us how to reach you. We can schedule a call, and I'll be happy to share any other insights depending on what other details you might want to disclose. Okay? But that's where I would start. Get a checklist, replace your lawyer immediately with the help of a new lawyer, hire a licensed surveyor who can then get on the ground and confirm everything that you just described. Thank you for your question. That was an awesome question, Moses. Joel Thomas, Choau. Man, the names today are heavy. Joel Thomas Choau. Forgive me if I'm butchering the name, but thank you for tuning in. You're watching us from YouTube. And Joel Thomas says, hi, Team Goshen. Thanks for your great job in informing us about real estate in Kenya. I have one question. What should one pay attention to when acquiring land as a foreigner in Kenya? Okay, I'm going to read that one more time just for clarity. Joel Thomas Choau says, hi, Team Goshen. Thanks for your great job in informing us about real estate in Kenya. I have one question. What should one pay attention to when acquiring land as a foreigner in Kenya? That's an awesome question. First thing I would recommend, Joel Thomas, is understand that in Kenya, the new constitution that took effect in the year 2010 stipulates that foreign nationals looking to own land or property in Kenya can only do so if the property is leasehold. A foreign national is not permitted to own freehold property in Kenya, only leasehold. That's number one. So to the extent that you find something that you like and it happens to be freehold, ensure that the seller of the property to you is willing to do a conversion from freehold to leasehold so that you can take legal possession, as a record will indicate. Okay, it's not going to be possible for you to be registered as an owner of record if the property is freehold and you're a foreign national. Now, if you happen to have dual citizenship, maybe you carry Kenyan citizenship as one of two or more citizenships that you hold, then there's no problem. You can acquire it as a Kenyan citizen if it's freehold. But if you don't have any kind of foreign, or I should say Kenyan citizenship, you don't carry a Kenyan passport, which is really the only way to prove your citizenship, you cannot buy that land if it's freehold. Make sure that the seller is willing to convert it to leasehold. It's a simple process. It takes a little bit of time. It's a legal process, will involve registered planners to engage the authorities in doing a change of tenure from freehold to leasehold. Will also require the help of a licensed advocate, licensed to practice in Kenya, to assist you with that, along with a surveyor and every other professional that we have recommended for you to work with, as prescribed in our Grand Acres checklist, 9 steps to safe land buying in Kenya. Okay, again, that's found on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Checklist tab, enter your name and email address, and it'll send you the free copy. That's biggest one. The other thing I would strongly recommend foreign nationals pay attention to is that your licensed advocate does a thorough due diligence. Unfortunately, foreign nationals are the easiest targets for land fraud in Kenya because foreign nationals are not familiar with all the intricacies of the due process involved, including, for instance, if the property is registered to an individual and you're buying land from that individual, even if it's leasehold, and you can own it legitimately as a foreign national, that individual has to get a spousal consent, which is an affidavit sworn before and commissioned by a commissioner for oaths by the spouse, confirming that they are the spouse. Attached with that will be their marriage certificate or license, and they will be expressing their approval for the sale of that property by their spouse. Even if that spouse is not listed on the title, the law requires that you obtain a spousal consent, a sworn affidavit by them stating that they are aware of the transaction or the intention to sell the property and they have no objection. This is a small detail that very few people pay attention to, and I'm not sure why. It's a legal requirement. Even if I'm a Kenyan buying from another Kenyan, I am required to have that spousal consent. But foreign nationals are most at risk for missing this little detail, which, if it comes up later, immediately renders your ownership null and void. That's how serious it is. If a spouse comes up later and writes a petition to the National Land Commission of Kenya, which is constitutionally mandated to handle cases like these, stating that my husband sold a property to such and such, to Joel Thomas, for example, and I was not aware, I was not consulted, and I did not swear an affidavit. I'm not okay with the sale of that property. That sale or that transaction would be annulled fairly quickly and without much resistance by the High Court if it ends up in court. So you don't want to skip any steps that would put your ownership in jeopardy, is what I'm trying to say. Now, for you to check all the boxes, a licensed advocate is going to be critical to your successful completion of that transaction. And I'm saying all this not to put any fear or apprehension in anyone about buying property in Kenya. It's a very simple process. If you provided that checklist to a class 5 kid, 10, 11-year-old kid, they can follow the process step 1 to the end and have no issues whatsoever. The problem is in Kenya, most people don't know what those processes are, hence our efforts to educate from our own experience, hence the checklist on our website as a free resource. And if you have the right information, you can ensure that you don't skip any steps that would render your ownership challengeable, if there's such a word. In short, you want to make sure your ownership is unimpeachable. So follow due process. Only way to ensure that is to have a licensed advocate in your corner. Along with that, all the other professionals like a surveyor, a registered planner, if necessary to change a tenure from freehold to leasehold, and all the other professionals who might be necessary along the way, including a professional land valuer or property valuer, if that's what you require to ascertain the value of the land or the property that you're buying. So make sure you don't skip any steps. And if in doubt, rely on your licensed professionals to guide you. So that would be it, Joe Thomas, unless you want to get into very specific details about an exact transaction. That's it. That's what I would advise. And I wish you all success buying your land in Kenya. Thank you for tuning in. John Kimani 46 on Instagram says, Solo, talk about how people lose genuinely obtained land. The land cases we hear, yet people had genuine titles. Where to start? John, that's a we'd need like 2 months for that one. Uh, how do people end up losing genuinely obtained land? I'll say this. First of all, it's very difficult for someone to lose genuinely obtained land. If someone was in a situation where they lost land, I am willing to bet, as much as the person may not want to admit it or not be aware, they at the very least skipped a very important step in the due process, which is what made it possible for them to lose the land in the first place. Unless thugs just showed up onto your land and threatened you with death or loss of life or damage to property, unless you left the property to them, it's very difficult for one to lose genuinely obtained land. Okay, I know I'm being anal about the words here, but we're talking about a very legal process. So I want to be clear about that. Genuinely obtained land is very difficult to lose. So to the extent that a piece of land has been lost means something was done wrong along the way, or something was skipped along the way, or there's a missing detail somewhere. And that can be very easily verified by a licensed advocate who knows how to do a proper due diligence. So uh, yes, the cases are there, many in court where people paid someone for land. I've been involved in one, for instance, where um, a friend uh, bought a piece of land in Kenya. They paid all the funds as was required through escrow, and somehow along the way, the seller colluded with the authorities to create fake uh, ownership documents, multiple copies, and sold the same piece of land to other parties. And those parties proceeded over the last maybe 15 years or so, 18 now, proceeded to subdivide this land into various parcels and sold on to other parties 3, 4 times over. Some have built homes, some have built apartments. It's a big fat mess. This friend genuinely bought the land. Okay? How the seller was able to collude with very senior uh, members of authoritative organs in the process, from the Ministry of Lands and even law enforcement individuals through corruption, is because precisely that senior individuals were involved. And when senior individuals are involved, it's very easy to track. And so the point I'm trying to make here, to make a long story short, is if you obtain land genuinely, meaning you didn't skip any part of the due process, even if something goes wrong along the way to challenge your ownership, you will be able to prove your legitimate ownership. And to the extent that the government of Kenya, which is the issuing authority of land ownership documents, including being a custodian of the land ownership records, to the extent that they provided confirmations to you regarding your ownership of the land and yet provided the same guarantees to another party, then at that point the government of Kenya is liable and will probably be forced to compensate you. We see that in the news all the time. The most prominent one I remember is a piece of land in Eldoret, for instance, which was somehow taken by the then sitting president of the Republic of Kenya, who had executive powers to do these sorts of things to some degree, took land from a private family, allocated it to a third party, which is a company, and they were never compensated appropriately, never mind that the family never wanted to sell in the first place. There was abuse of authority. The High Court I should say the Court of Appeal, actually, the last time I read that ruling, actually ruled in favor of that family some almost 32 years later. And the government now has to compensate that family to the tune of almost, I think right now, by the exchange, it is about $35 million for this piece of land. So that my point is this: if your land is owned genuinely, it's very difficult for someone to take it from you without you being able to challenge that. No matter how long it takes, it's virtually impossible. Now, to the extent that you are not able to prove that you are the genuine owner, means you skipped an important step along the way that left you exposed. Like not having a spousal affidavit from the person who sold you the land, like not having a land control board consent to take ownership of that land if the land is agricultural at the time that you acquired it, like not having county approvals, this, that, and the other. Um, the list is long. So do your due diligence. Don't skip a step. And should that ever come up that someone is challenging your ownership, you will be able, no matter how difficult, time consuming it might be, you will be able to defend your position. And to the extent that you and the other party are able to do that simultaneously, because mistakes do happen. We've seen cases where the government of Kenya issued two legitimate title deeds, meaning they are real titles and they were both registered as the owners of the same property. At that point, the government of Kenya would likely be deemed to be liable and would have to compensate one or both parties. This has also happened in the past. So, without having any other details, that would be my best answer, John Kimani. And I know this is a controversial issue and a very emotive one, particularly when you're the affected party. But it's important to always remain objective, look at the facts, be brutally honest. Was everything done right the way it's supposed to, as prescribed by the law? If not, mea culpa, take responsibility and try and fix the problem if possible. If not, some painful lessons might have to be swallowed. And that would be my best answer, John. But thank you for that comment. Mogore on Facebook says, do you help in selling plots? I have my plot in Isinya I would like to sell. Mogore, we do not help in selling plots. Unlike agents or brokers, we only sell what we fully own as Grand Acres or as Goshen Acquisitions. Okay, so that's not something we can help you with. Unfortunately, we're not the right partner for you. We're happy to make a recommendation or two about individuals who might be more suited or better suited to help you with that. So DM us, send us your email, and we'll make email introductions for you, and hopefully they'll be able to help you sell. Thank you, Mogore. We out of questions already?
We have so many.
You can't keep up, huh? Okay, Robert Morioki on Facebook says, hello, thanks for the enlightened info. Quick one. Let's say I have a piece of land and title, fully paid, but I purchased it while outside the country through a relative. How do I get to know its specific location? Thanks and be blessed. Robert, that's a great question. About 50 to 60% of our customers happen to be like you, foreign located Kenyans or Kenyans in the diaspora who routinely buy land back home in Kenya, which is an awesome thing. Now, if you use the relative and you are not able to do the site visit on your own, a simple way to confirm the location is to send a licensed surveyor out there. Give them the particulars of the land, which will be a copy of the title, a copy of the mutation form. Ideally, it should be a certified copy of your mutation form, and a copy of the registry index map, duly updated to reflect your property on it, okay, with its LR number. With those three documents, any surveyor worth their salt, worth their weight in salt, will be able to locate the property. And of course, a simple thing I like to do when I send surveyors to site is ask them to share a Google Maps pin drop. Okay, and there's all sorts of apps out there that you can download as well that are free, that would geo reference a particular parcel. You can ask them to walk along the perimeter, beacon to beacon. It'll track their movement and send you the precise GPS location, dimension, and shape of that piece of land as it is situated on the planet. Okay, there's all sorts of things you can do today that are very easy, but have a licensed surveyor do that for you. You could also ask your cousin, or sorry, your relative. I'm assuming it was a cousin. I don't know why, but whatever relative you use to purchase a land should have shared a pin drop with you, right? Ask them to share one. But even then, I will send a licensed professional to independently confirm that. Okay? And you should be able to say, this is exactly where my property is located. Thank you, Robert. We have 4 minutes. Oh my God, time has flown. Osborne Odongo. What's up, Osborne? Good to see you. Greetings to you. Thanks for tuning in as always. And Osborne says, greetings. I realize it will take some time for digitization of all existing title deeds by the government of Kenya. Are new titles being issued now being digitized in the spirit of a stitch in time saves 9? Unfortunately not, Osborne. So the digitization process is being done by regions or zones as determined by the Ministry of Lands. Okay, which is to say, if a zone has not been gazetted for digitization yet, there are still transactions being carried out in that particular zone day and night. They can't stop those transactions until it is gazetted for digitization. So the status quo prevails until it is gazetted for digitization, and then they will digitize the records for that particular zone. Okay, so unfortunately they're not doing it that way. It's something we just have to wait for them to cycle through. Understandably, it's going to take time because you're looking at an unprecedented amount of records, manual records, predating independence even. I've seen records as old as the 1930s. It's going to take a while. So just be on the lookout for your zone being gazetted and engage the Ministry of Lands as prescribed on their website, RD Sasa. You can go on there, look at the process required for digitizing, or title conversion is what they're calling the process. Submit your documents, which are specifically 3. Okay, that will come from you. 1 will come from the ministry. You go to their website, download the application form, fill it in properly, submit your application form along with your original copy of your title deed, okay, your identification document, whether it's an ID or Kenyan passport, and your KRA PIN certificate, and a final separate document would be the registry index map. Updated, ensuring that it reflects your specific parcel with its land reference number on it. Once you submit all those, they will proceed to issue the new format or digitized version of your title deed. So we all just have to wait. Thank you, Osborne. It's good to hear from you. Okay, we have 1 more minute. Time for enough time to answer maybe 1 more question. This one is from Kanyo again on TikTok, who says, I heard you say once we need to go beyond a land search to confirm ownership. Kindly revisit. Okay, Kanyo, what I meant by that is beyond just doing a simple search, and this I also stipulate in our checklist, 9 steps to safe land buying in Kenya. Kanyo, if you don't have it yet, please do yourself a favor, download it. It's for free from our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Click on the Grand Acres, or rather the checklist tab, checklist tab, fill in your details, name, email address as a minimum. It'll send you a free copy of the 9 steps checklist to safe land buying in Kenya. Okay, do your search. In order to do the search, you need a certified copy of the title deed. Um, you need all pages of that title, not just a cover page, all 4 pages, including the one that has the serial number in the back, if it's a freehold title. You will submit that to the Ministry of Lands. These days, you have to pay the official fee on RDSAS's platform. It's linked to e-citizen services for a search. Then they will produce a search. Once you've seen the search report, wait a day or two. This is my recommendation. Ask your licensed advocate to then formally request in writing for a certified copy of the green card. A lot of registries don't like to issue this document, particularly now, but if a licensed advocate makes a formal request explaining that it's something they are requesting as part of a due diligence, they will have a lot easier time getting that document from the lands registry than you will as an individual. You'll pay the prescribed fee, usually around 2,500 shillings. Get and keep your receipts for both. They will issue you a certified copy of the green card. Why do I recommend that you do this? Because when you ask for a search report, what the officers at the Ministry of Lands and the registry do is they go to the file, retrieve the green card, and put on the search report what the green card says is the current ownership status. Okay? A search will not tell you anything about the history of ownership of that property. It'll simply tell you what the current ownership status is. The green card, on the other hand, will contain the full history of ownership on that document or that property, right from when that file was created or that property or that title deed was registered, even if it's as old as 1952, as I've seen some. And that is very useful information to have to understand the history of ownership, whether there were land disputes recorded on that land, whether a particular owner at any given time borrowed against that property as security, whether there was a lien charged, a lien discharged, whether there was succession issues, whatever. It's going to be contained on the green card all the way up to the current status which your search certificate or report provided. The reason I like to do this is because in the past, land officials have colluded with fraudsters to falsify the current status of a property. If that is the case and you got your search report first, and you then went back and got a certified copy of the green card, you can quickly see how that's going to flag any issues. You'll be able to see, wait a minute, there's a discrepancy here. I need to ask more questions or walk away. Okay, so get the search first, get a certified copy of the green card 1 or 2 days later, because you don't want to alert the corrupt authorities, if there are any, that you are trying to spring any trap. Okay, this is why I recommend that you go beyond the land search. Beyond that or after that, you then need to engage the services of a surveyor who will confirm the specific location, the physical location, dimensions, and size of that property to make sure that it is in agreement with the details recorded on the title deed. If there's a discrepancy, depending on how large that margin of error is, you will have a problem that needs to be sorted out by the seller before you take possession, including issuance of corrected title or amended mutation forms and that sort of thing. A licensed advocate is going to be critical in helping you navigate this. Don't try and do it on your own. There's a reason these people went to school for as long as they did their pupillage, and went back to sit for the bar exam to get licensed to practice, and have to renew their license every year. Okay, so let's have respect for the professionals who exist to help us. Make sure that they're licensed, engage them early as possible, and follow every step, especially as we have outlined in our Grand Acres checklist, which is available for absolutely free on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Click the Grand Acres checklist tab, and you'll be well on your way to confirming these details. Thank you, Kanyu, for that second great question. And to every one of you who has participated today, it's been so busy answering questions, I lost track of time. Time has flown. Terry Garcia says, thank you, Solomon, for taking your time to educate us. Wishing you well. Thank you, Terry. I really appreciate that kind compliment. You are the reason we do it. And I hope we've all learned something and been better empowered to engage in safe land investment in Kenya. Share this link with everyone you like, love, and respect. Good vibes only. If you don't like someone, leave them out. If they don't like you, love them anyway. Send them the link. Um, and let's empower one another. I look forward to joining you all again next week, same time, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And wishing you guys grand acres. Have a good night.